Welcome back to another episode of What About That? TV Recap and Review. I'm Jen.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we will be taking 10 minutes to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, the most recent episode 9, Lucha de Apuesta. I hope I said that right. Lucha de Apuesta. But to be specific, we are actually here for the Avalance.
That's all we really cared about.
That's all we really cared about.
The tango.
So in this episode, we have Mona being framed for Konane's escape, and she is fired from the Time Bureau. She evades a mind wiping, meets Konane, and sends him back in time to Mexico, 1961. Sarah Lance and her crew of legends go back in time to catch the Cope. As they are on the hunt for the Cope, Zari and Nick begin a counter-investigation, which leads them directly to Nick's father, Hank, who may or may not be involved in a Men in Black conspiracy to capture magical creatures and do some weird test or capture them or take them to an odd place. I don't know why Hank wants magical creatures, but he just does, and the Cope
probably wants their magic.
Well, that seems like an obvious. The Cope, we don't know what the government wants, but this is all seemingly happening under the nose of Ava Sharp, who doesn't believe that there's a conspiracy. She runs a tight ship, and so this has created a massive obstacle for the pairing of Sarah Lance and Ava Sharp. The obstacle being that you have work and versus a relationship. And that's really what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about this couple. We want to take us some minutes from our busy lexicon planning to talk about what we saw on this episode. Sarah, what did you think?
Well, I thought that the tango scene was probably my favorite. They did such a great job making that into a really fun scene. And there had been so much tension between Sarah and Ava throughout the whole episode. That was, a perfect way to show off that tension.
We had this beautiful tango scene. Thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
Let's break this thing down. This tango scene was really about Sarah trying to deliver a message. She wants to deliver her message to Ava. That message is that the Time Bureau has been compromised. She does it through a dance. While we were distracted about that dance, I watched the scene like 3 times, and I still don't know exactly what Sarah was trying to say because I was so distracted by the choreography. I thought both actresses did a fantastic job learning the choreography, and they seemed to dance really, really well together. I would have to say Ava Sharp, slightly better dancer. So throw that out there. It was such a sassy tango. My favorite move was towards the end, where they both kind of like half J split on the floor and then come back up. That was like my favorite thing. I saw a lot of themes in this episode, but mainly a lack of communication happening between our 2 favorite Sharp Lances. The lack of communication happened over and over again on the phone. They kept hanging up on each other.
Yeah, it was like they would just get really upset about it. And it's sort of like Ava likes to do things by protocol, and Sarah operates outside of her standard operational procedures. She doesn't really like the rules or structure. She's prone to breaking things, and Ava Sharp needs structure and to feel in control.
She's a clone. She discovered she was a clone last season, and she kind of is always questioning what is real in her memories and what isn't. She's somebody with no history, which I think is very, very interesting. Let's talk about why they were fighting. I think that the most important part of the why was really exemplified in the scene where they break up. Why does Ava choose not to understand or open herself up to Sarah when Sarah warns her?
Doing that, yeah.
And I feel like there was a scene that kind of exemplified why she might not have listened to Sarah Lance in the moment. And it was interesting because it was when Sarah Lance and Ava are having a face-off. Ava's sending her extraction team to go to Mexico to get the Colpe. She has this like one-liner that's this microaggressive one-liner. She says, well, it looks like you saved history again. Congratulations, Sarah. And to me, it seemed like a dig. It seemed like Ava Sharp
Yeah, it's like she didn't really care in a way. It seemed like she really, almost was upset that it wasn't her that got to figure it out. It ends up being Sarah that gets to.
That was exactly the point I was alluding to. I feel like Ava seemed jealous. Like this line, well, it looks like you saved history again. Congratulations, Sarah. That seems to be a little jealous, like Sarah is this person who never has a plan, doesn't use any structure, yet is exceedingly great at her job. Whereas Ava is a person with all the putties in the world. He has all these Time Bureau putties who just like constantly are just incompetent. And that was another thing that came up for me. Ava Sharp surrounds herself with incompetent people. Mona and Gary, they are like these clown characters, and she's the only successful person in her own world. She's the only capable character, and she's also the smartest character in her little world. It feels like Nick he's smart, but he's also somebody who's prone to making mistakes and acting on an emotional, like making choices based on emotion. Whereas Ava doesn't make emotional choices, except when she does with Sarah. And that was kind of really interesting. So something that came up in this scene, this fight between Sarah and Ava, was just how much Ava resents Sarah for doing a good job when Ava tries so hard to be good at her job, and it's just always falling apart on her. That leads me to a little bit more later down the line. I think in the last scene between Ava and Sarah, I was most surprised again by Ava. Ava has this line, and she tells Sarah while they're fighting, she's like, the one thing I needed you to do today was to be in my corner.
Yeah, to a very personal level.
Yeah, she suddenly is no longer holding on to the rules or structure of her job. She is almost emotionally manipulating Sarah into doing what she wants. She wants Sarah to be in her corner, but then she has this other line where she says, I wanted you to be in my corner, and then she blames Sarah for nearly being fired or for being on the brink of being fired by Hank. So in one instance, she wants this emotional support from Sarah, and then the other instance, she's blaming Sarah for her being bad at her job and for her own failures at her job.
Yeah.
So again, we're given this contrast between, Ava being in a relationship with a woman who's so proficient at everything she does, and Ava both wants the love of that woman and cherishes it, but at the same time is slightly resentful of it. I thought she has a line where she's like, you are the reason for Hank nearly fired me, or Hank's going to fire me. She's blaming her girlfriend for her failure to capture the Colby.
Right.
That was really interesting. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Obviously, it almost goes to the next level of like relationships that also have work involved. The issues that can come up with that, because people do take things more personally because you have more interaction with that person. It's not just another coworker.
Someone you expect a little bit more of. She has a higher expectation of Sarah.
So the lines get blurred and it becomes a lot more of a control and personal relationship.
Do you think that in order for Ava and Sarah to remain in a relationship, one of them is going to have to give up the work?
See, the sad thing is Ava could trust Sarah. So Ava's character, unfortunately, isn't able to see the good in what Sarah does when she goes around protocol.
Oh, when she breaks the rules.
When she breaks the rules. So there's a lack of trust in, the work relationship, and could even be it shows up everywhere.
I definitely see, Ava's insecurities. Sarah Lance, she's been harboring Charlie, who's a fugitive. Charlie is a shapeshifter who was imprisoned and escaped when Sarah broke the timeline and all the magical creatures escaped. Charlie originally should have been sent down to hell because that is standard operational procedure. That is what the legends were setting out to do. They were setting out to send magical creatures down into hell. And Sarah Lance has learned to practice better judgment when it comes to these magical creatures, especially since she's harboring one on her ship. So her opinion of magical creatures has been changing. And that was no more apparent when Ava Sharp garishly says, who cares? Who cares about the magical creatures? She brings it up during this conflict because her whole goal is to protect humans. And to me, this felt really weird because my question was, why would Ava Sharp be so interested and concerned about protecting humanity if she herself isn't exactly human? Why is she holding on to this so tightly in this moment? So much so that she's willing to end her own relationship with the one person who does give her a sense of humanity.
Yeah,
the only memories she's really has made that are authentic is the existence in life she's made with Sarah. So
the recent past.
Right, the recent past. And so in the moment when she chooses to give up Sarah, she's not just choosing to give Sarah up. She's choosing to give up her recent past. And we're seeing her go back to being like she was when we first met her, which was cold, diligent, super soldier of the Time Bureau. We're seeing her actually erase the parts of her that are most human. Ava's like, why should I care? Why should I help you? Why should I go against my own Time Bureau, put my job on the line? And what does Sarah say?
For me.
Right. What did Sarah want in that moment?
She wanted her to stand up for the relationship and to trust Sarah.
So essentially both women want the support of each other.
Right.
And it's so sad because in this moment when they break up, they just want each other's love and support.
Right.
And because they don't get it, the answer's
to break up.
The only option is to break up.
It's
shame. Ava who does it. She just tells her, just go. I'm done.
I think it's easier for her to just
turn off.
Cold turkey.
We don't have another episode of Legends of Tomorrow till Monday. And then we're going to Colexicon.
Yeah, we better figure it out because it would be terrible to go to Colexicon with those two broken up. That would really impact what questions you're going to ask them on the panel.
I think the question for me that I would love to most know, and if you have any questions, please feel free to write them out. We're going to definitely go and hit. Why in the moment in which she's fighting with Sarah, why does she care about protecting human history if she is a clone with no history? So I think I want to put that into some perspective, talk to the actress a little bit about that. And we've been working on a couple of questions for Avalance. Ava Sharp. If they got married, it'd be like Ava Sharp Lance. It'd be a lot of pointy things. So on a scale of 1 through 10, where do you give this level of episode? With the Cope and Mona included.
Right. I think I'd probably give it like an 8.5.
An 8.5? You really enjoyed it? Well, okay. Yeah. What were some of the highs for you?
The tango.
The tango scene.
And the Kobe.
You like the Cope?
The Cope, yeah.
You like Konane?
Yeah.
What did you like about that?
It was nice to see him having some sort of triumph.
Oh, you like seeing him wrestle?
Yeah, I mean...
You like the wrestling, Sarah?
Not really. I mean, the actual wrestling, okay. But, I think it's just nice to see him have some sort of other purpose besides cowering in the corner and, everyone just bashing on him all the time.
Oh, yeah. So you like seeing the Cope empowered.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, in a lot of the episodes I've watched before, it's kind of like, okay, what's the point of this scene sometimes, The
Cope?
The storyline hadn't really been
fully evolved.
Fully realized enough. And so I feel like, okay, finally we got somewhere to show us something about his role in this show. And Mona, especially. Mona is my least favorite character. Sorry. She's very annoying. I dislike her voice. Her haircut is terrible. And she always just looks like doe-eyed and dumb. And so this actually gave her some purpose, too, that I felt like, okay.
Would you be annoyed if Mona joined the Legends?
Yeah, I'm really glad she's fired. Maybe they can find somebody else.
I agree with you, Mona. She's really annoying. I think Ray Palmer is one of my favorite characters on the show, and I thought he was adorable in this episode with his cards against the timeline. That was hilarious. And if you look at the box, you see Ava Sharp on the front of the box. That was really funny.
In a suit.
I totally need to get that card game. That'd be hilarious to play. They should
create
make
that.
it. Make it. Predictions, okay? I did have a massive prediction. There were 2 things that happened that gave me a prediction. So my prediction 1, at the very beginning of the episode, Hank yells at Ava for being distracted and for her last side mission, going on a side mission with the legends. And Sarah has this one-off line saying, oh, you were too busy being a legend than to be here at the Bureau running things. My prediction is that Avalance may become a legend.
Dun dun dun!
There it is. What if Avalance became a legend?
That would completely change the show, though.
It would change the show in every way. But you know what? The Time Bureau was only a thing for, like, season 3.
Okay,
It's a relatively new bureau. It was invented in season 3. It can end in season 4, and we can do something else. But it would be cool, because then you could have Ava on the ship, and then you wouldn't have this, like, half Earth, half ship life. So that was a passing prediction.
What's your prediction for Sarah and Ava? Do you think they're going to get back together in the next episode?
No, I think they're not. What about you?
That's a shame. I want them to, just so that Calexicon can be like a unified
happier
friend.
experience.
That would be my only reason why I want that prediction, for sure. But I think you're right. I think they'll probably draw it out for another episode or 2.
Well, they have to learn.
Just so much discord.
I know. All of our shows, there's just so much discord happening. I just feel like they have to, like, learn to fix what's wrong within themselves before they can be better in their relationship. But I also think that Ava and Sarah are endgame. I don't think that she's going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're going to get back together for sure.
Yeah.
But probably by the end the end of the season.
Okay.
You know, and we're going to keep watching it, right? We like this one. This is a great show. This was more than 10 minutes, and I called it 10-Minute Legend.
You should just take that part out.
We're going to come up with a cooler name for this segment. But anyway, so I'll give this episode a 9. I loved it. I thought it was great. Everything about it. The fight broke my heart. The tango was delicious to watch. Ray Palmer, hilarious. Rory shooting Mona, gratifying. Somebody shoot Mona, she's annoying. The Cope, romantic. Studley, he was a great lucha libre. He was really good in his character. Nick and Zari, it wasn't Zari and Charlie, but it was alright. What else happened? Anything else?
That's it. That's a wrap.
Constantine, no, he was great. I liked that he was on the lucha libre Alkira's side. It was a good episode. And my other prediction is that... Oh, I have a big prediction. Zari is from a future... She's from a dystopian future. And she had magical powers, and she was being captured and sent to, like, a hospital to be experimented on. I think that what Nick's dad, Hank, is involved in is probably the beginning of that future that Zari was living and escaped from. That future killed Zari's brother, and it caused her family to be all killed. And so she was working with the Legends originally to try and stop it from happening. And it had to do with doing testing on magical beings. Not magical beings, but super-powered beings. Beings with super abilities. But that could also roughly translate to magical beings. So I think that the beginning of that experiment is probably whatever Hank is doing. And the Legends are going to stop it. I think that's what our big end game is for this season. That's a fucking huge prediction. And you got it here.
Jen, you got it here from the What About That team.
That's right.
All right, on to the next.
So, if you like this podcast, if you liked our Legends... we got to give this a name.
All right.
I'm going to come up with something. It's got to be fun. Then go on ahead and like and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can get the podcast on iTunes. You can listen to us on Podbean. We have a new website called whataboutthat.com, and follow us on Twitter. But really, if you had to do one of these things, you could help us by following us on Twitter. It's at whatabout_dat.
And don't forget, if you have any questions that you're interested in having us look over before we go to Calexicon, put them in the comments so we can have a little point of view of what our listeners are looking forward to hearing.
Are you ready?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.